My sister Vanessa leaned over the casket, touched our mother's hand one last time, and whispered loud enough for the front row to hear. "I was always your favorite. I know you're at peace now." She dabbed her eyes with a tissue that stayed perfectly dry. I stood 3 feet away, watching this performance, feeling nothing but exhaustion. Our mother had been sick for 11 months, 58 years old, and cancer had eaten her from the inside. I'd been there for every doctor's appointment, every chemotherapy session, every night she couldn't sleep from the pain. Vanessa had visited twice, once for Thanksgiving, once when the doctors said it was almost over. But here she was, center stage at the funeral, playing the grieving daughter like she'd rehearsed it for weeks. Maybe she had. 3 hours later, we sat in a lawyer's office downtown. Dark wood paneling, leather chairs, the smell of old paper and coffee. Vanessa was already talking about the house. Mom always said she wanted me to have it. The house Dad built before he died. I'm the oldest. It should go to me. She looked at me with something like pity. You understand, right, Megan? You're still figuring out your life. You don't need a house yet. I didn't respond. I was 28 years old and too tired to fight. 11 months of watching our mother die while working full-time and barely sleeping had hollowed me out. If Vanessa wanted the house, fine. I just wanted this to be over. Vanessa smiled, settling back in her chair like she was about to receive an award. She was 35, married to a finance guy named Todd, living in a 4-bedroom house in the suburbs. She didn't need our mother's house. She just wanted to win. She also left a letter to be read aloud. She insisted on this. He pulled out an envelope, yellowed and sealed with tape. My mother's handwriting on the front. To be read at the reading of my will. Both daughters present. Mr. Patterson adjusted his glasses and began reading the will itself first. The house, the savings account, the life insurance payout, the jewelry, the car, everything. All of it. To me. Every single asset my mother had accumulated over 58 years of life went to Megan Elizabeth Harper, her younger daughter, the one who supposedly was still figuring out her life. Vanessa's face went through several transformations. Confusion first, like she'd misheard. Then disbelief. Then something harder. Angrier. There must be a mistake. Mom would never. She always said I was her favorite. She said that literally last Thanksgiving, in front of everyone. Mr. Patterson held up his hand. There's no mistake. Your mother was very clear, but she wanted the letter read before any discussion. He opened the envelope carefully, unfolded 2 pages of my mother's handwriting, and began to read. My dear daughters, if you're hearing this, I'm gone. I've had 11 months to think about what I want to say, and I've rewritten this letter 6 times. I hope I finally got it right. Vanessa, I know you're angry. You've probably already said there must be a mistake. There isn't. I made this decision with a clear mind and a full heart. Let me explain why. When you were born, I was 23 years old and terrified. You were my first baby, and I had no idea what I was doing, so I overcompensated. I gave you everything. Every toy, every opportunity, every ounce of attention I had. When you cried, I ran. When you wanted something, I provided. I thought that's what good mothers did. I didn't realize I was creating a person who believed the world existed to serve her. Mr. Patterson paused, took a sip of water. Vanessa was gripping the armrests of her chair, knuckles white. I sat frozen, my mother's voice somehow alive in these words, saying things I'd never heard her say. When Megan came along 7 years later, I was different. Older, tired. I told myself she didn't need as much attention. The truth is, I was too exhausted to give it. That was my first mistake with her. assuming that not complaining meant not needing. Vanessa, you complained about everything, so you got everything. Megan accepted whatever she was given, so she got less. That's not fair. I know that now. I knew it then, somewhere deep down. But it was easier to keep the peace than to change the pattern. I felt something crack inside my chest. I'd always known I was different from Vanessa, treated differently. But hearing my mother admit it, explain it, felt like being punched and hugged at the same time. When your father died, Vanessa, you were 22 and already engaged to Todd. You had your life planned. Megan was 15, a sophomore in high school, grieving her father while her sister planned a wedding. I should have been there for her. Instead, I let you consume all my attention with venue disputes and bridesmaid drama and fights with your future mother-in-law. Megan went to therapy alone. She paid for it with money from her after-school job because I was too distracted to notice she needed help. She never told me. I found the receipts years later, cleaning out her old room. 15 years old, working at a frozen yogurt shop to afford her own grief counseling, while I helped her sister pick table linens. Vanessa shifted in her seat. I remembered that year. The smell of artificial strawberry from the yogurt machines. The therapist's office with the fake plants and the tissue box that was always full. $40 a session, twice a month. I'd told my mother I was saving for a car. Over the years, the pattern continued. Vanessa, when you had problems, they were emergencies. When you needed money, I gave it. When you needed someone to blame, I volunteered. When your marriage hit rough patches, I flew out to help. Twice. For weeks at a time. Megan, when you had problems, they were learning experiences. When you needed money, I told you to budget better. When you needed someone to talk to, I said you were strong enough to handle it yourself. I was wrong. I was so wrong. You weren't stronger than your sister. You just learned earlier that asking for help was pointless. Mr. Patterson's voice was steady, professional, but I could see his eyes softening as he read. This wasn't just a legal document. This was a confession. When I got sick, I wasn't surprised by what happened next. Vanessa, you came to the hospital twice in 11 months. You sent flowers and gift baskets and posted on social media about how hard it was to have a sick mother. You told your friends you were devastated. You told me you couldn't handle seeing me like that. You had the kids to think about. Your mental health? Your schedule. I understood. I'd raised you to believe your needs came first. Why would that change just because I was dying? Megan came every day. Every single day for 11 months. She held my hand during chemotherapy when the nurses couldn't find a vein. She cleaned up after me when I was too sick to make it to the bathroom. She slept in a hospital chair for weeks because I was afraid to be alone at night. She gave up her apartment because she couldn't afford rent and my medical bills. She moved into my house to take care of me and told her friends she was fine. She wasn't fine. She was drowning. But she never complained. Because I'd taught her that complaining didn't work. I was crying now. Silently, tears running down my face into my lap. 28 years old, sitting in a lawyer's office, finally hearing my mother say the things I'd needed to hear my entire life. I'm not leaving everything to Megan because she took care of me. I'm leaving everything to Megan because I owe her. I owe her for 15 years of therapy I should have paid for. I owe her for the college loans I helped Vanessa pay off, but not her. I owe her for the wedding I paid for when Vanessa got married, while I told Megan I couldn't afford to help with her student loans. I owe her for every birthday where Vanessa got the bigger gift because she'd throw a tantrum otherwise. I owe her for every time I said Vanessa needs me more without ever asking if Megan needed me at all. This inheritance isn't a gift. It's a debt. And I'm finally paying it. Vanessa stood up. This is insane. She was on medication, chemo brain. She didn't know what she was writing. Mr. Patterson looked at her calmly. Your mother underwent a cognitive evaluation before signing this will. She anticipated a challenge. The documents are in the file. She was of completely sound mind. Vanessa sat back down, her face red. Vanessa, I love you. I will always love you. But I failed you in a different way. I taught you that love means getting more than someone else, that your worth is measured by what you receive. That's why you're angry right now. Not because you need this house or this money. You don't. Todd makes plenty. You're angry because getting less than your sister feels like being loved less. That's my fault. I created that equation in your head. But I won't reinforce it from the grave. You have enough. You've always had enough. It's time for Megan to have something too. Your mother, Ruth. Mr. Patterson folded the letter and placed it back in the envelope. The silence in that room was absolute. I could hear the clock ticking on the wall, the distant hum of air conditioning, my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Vanessa stood up again, slower this time. You manipulated her, she said to me, her voice shaking. You moved in with her and turned her against me. I looked at my sister, at the designer dress and the perfect highlights and the rage burning behind her eyes. I wiped her vomit off the bathroom floor, I said quietly. I held her hand when she cried at 3 a.m. because she was scared. I read to her when the pain was too bad to sleep. All you had to do was show up, Vanessa. You couldn't even do that. She grabbed her purse. I'm going to fight this. You'll hear from my attorney. She stormed out, heels clicking on the tile floor, slamming the door so hard the paintings on the wall rattled. Mr. Patterson sighed. She can try, but your mother was thorough. Cognitive evaluation, video testimony, multiple witnesses. She knew your sister would contest. He pulled another envelope from the folder. She also asked me to give you this privately, after your sister left. I took it with trembling hands, my name on the front in my mother's handwriting. Just Megan, with a small heart beside it. I waited until I was in my car to open it. Parked in the underground garage of the law office, windows up, alone for the first time in months. I unfolded the pages and started reading. My darling Megan, if you're reading this, the hard part is over. Vanessa knows the truth, and she probably hates us both right now. Let her. She needs time. Maybe she'll come around. Maybe she won't. But this letter is just for you. There are things I couldn't say in front of her. Things too raw, too honest, too painful to read in a lawyer's office. I remember the day you were born. 7 pounds, 4 ounces, dark hair, eyes that seemed to see right through me. You were so quiet. The nurses kept checking on you because you barely cried. I thought something was wrong. The doctor said no. Some babies are just calm. I should have known then that you'd spend your life making things easier for everyone else. When you were 8, you asked me why Vanessa got a new bike for her birthday, and you got a used one. I said because Vanessa was older and needed a nicer bike for school. That was a lie. The truth was, Vanessa had thrown a fit about wanting a specific brand, and I didn't have the energy to fight her. So I spent more on hers and less on yours. You said okay and rode that used bike until the chain broke. You never complained. When you were 12, your teacher called me, said you'd been eating lunch alone for weeks, said you seemed sad. I asked you about it that night. You said you were fine, just reading during lunch because you liked the quiet. I believed you because it was easier than digging deeper. I found your journal years later. You weren't fine. You were lonely. You'd just learned that telling me wouldn't change anything. When you were 15 and your father died, I disappeared into Vanessa's wedding planning because it was easier than facing my own grief. Easier than facing yours. You needed me and I wasn't there. You found your own way through it, at $40 a session, paid for with frozen yogurt money. I will never forgive myself for that. I hope someday you can. When you were 23, you graduated from college. Magna missed watching you walk across that stage. You never mentioned it. Just smiled in the photos like nothing was wrong. I'm lying in this hospital bed, 58 years old, dying too young from a disease that doesn't care how many mistakes I need to fix. And all I can think about is everything I did wrong with you. Every time I chose the easy path. Every time I let Vanessa's noise drown out your silence. Every time I told myself you were fine because believing otherwise would have required me to change. You're not fine. You've never been fine. You've just been surviving. And you've done it so gracefully that everyone around you, including me, mistook your strength for contentment. I can't give you back the childhood you deserved. I can't undo the years of feeling invisible in your own family. But I can give you this house, this money, this chance to build a life where you don't have to struggle anymore, where you can take a breath, where you can figure out what you actually want instead of constantly managing what everyone else needs. Take it. Please. Don't feel guilty. Don't share it with Vanessa out of some misplaced sense of fairness. She's had more than her share already. This is yours. Finally, something that's just yours. There's one more thing. In my closet, behind the winter coats, there's a shoebox. Inside are letters I've written you over the years. Birthday letters mostly. Things I wanted to say but couldn't. I'd write them, seal them, and then chicken out. Tell myself I'd give them to you next year. Next year never came. Until now. Read them when you're ready. Or don't. They're yours either way. I love you, Megan. I loved you from the moment you were born, even though I did a terrible job of showing it. You deserved a better mother. I hope this makes up for at least a fraction of what I owe you. Live your life. Fall in love. Be happy. Stop waiting for permission to take up space. You've always been enough. I'm just sorry it took me dying to finally say it. Your mother, Ruth. P.S. The house needs a new roof. I know. I've been putting it off for years. Let myself in with the key I'd been using for 11 months. Walked through the rooms that still smelled like her perfume and her illness, and the lavender candles I'd burned to cover both. Went to her closet. Moved the winter coats. Found the shoebox. 23 letters. One for every birthday since I turned 5. Some were short, just a few sentences. Some were pages long, written in different colored inks, clearly added to over time. I sat on her bedroom floor and read them all. Hours passed. The light outside changed from afternoon to evening to dark. My mother had seen me. All along, she'd seen me. She just hadn't known how to say it. Hadn't known how to break the pattern she'd created with Vanessa. Hadn't been brave enough to change until she was dying and had nothing left to lose. Vanessa did contest the will. Her lawyers sent threatening letters. Mine sent polite responses with copies of the cognitive evaluation and video testimony. The case dragged on for 8 months. In the end, the judge ruled in my favor. Vanessa didn't speak to me at the courthouse. Just stared at me with a look that could have cut glass. I used some of the insurance money to fix the roof, fixed the squeaky step too, then felt guilty about it. So I loosened the nail again. Kept it squeaky. Dad would have wanted it fixed. Mom would. Then I still. It's strange, being asked. I'm still learning how to answer. Vanessa and I don't talk. I hear things through cousins. Her marriage to Todd finally ended. He got caught doing something with his secretary. Or maybe it was his business partner. The story changes depending on who's telling it. She's living in an apartment now. Smaller than she's used to. I could feel sorry for her, but I don't have the energy. I spent my whole childhood feeling sorry for the person who got everything while I got scraps. I'm done with that now. Last month I found one more letter. It had slipped behind her dresser, must have fallen when I moved the shoebox. It was dated 3 days before she died. Her handwriting was shaky, barely legible. Megan, I watched you sleep in that hospital chair last night. You looked so tired, so young, 28 years old, and you've already given up so much to take care of me. I wanted to wake you up and tell you to go home, to live your life, to stop sacrificing for a woman who never sacrificed for you. But I was selfish. I wanted you there. You made me feel less afraid. That's what you've always done. Made everyone else feel less afraid while carrying your own fear alone. I'm so proud of you. I don't think I've said that enough. I'm proud of the woman you've become despite everything I did wrong. You're going to be okay. Better than okay. You're going to be extraordinary. I just wish I could be there to see it. I love you. Always. Mom. I keep that letter in my wallet now. Folded up small, edges worn from touching it when I need to remember. She saw me. In the end, she saw me. And that has to be enough. If you've ever been the quiet daughter, the overlooked one, the one who learned that needing things was pointless because no one was coming anyway, this is for you. If you've ever stood in the shadow of a sibling who demanded the spotlight while you disappeared into the background, this is for you. And if no one in your family ever gave you that, then give it to yourself. That's what I'm learning to do. One day at a time. One birthday letter at a time. Tell me in the comments. And subscribe for more stories about families, inheritance, and the complicated ways love shows up when it's almost too late. Sometimes the most important words are written in letters we never send, until suddenly, finally, we do.